Gonna wake up to a big surprise. Big surprise. A wooden cat with yellow green eyes. Yellow green eyes.
I did that before, but she was all like, no, I gotta make it perfect. My shot is amazing. I'm Stanley Kubrick.
It wasn't centered. It's still not. Let's include you in the shot.
No, I'm terrible.
Well, you can't just do it from off screen.
Yes, I can.
Merry Christmas. Stop that. So I will unprivatize this on Christmas Eve, and it's set to go up on Channel Awesome on Christmas Day. And, honey, what did we watch?
I'm less angry this time.
You're very less angry this time.
I'm less angry, and I'm also less exhausted. It's like, dude, I had about 2 hours sleep before the last one. And I was just like, I was wiped.
I'm coming off a near 10-hour shift at the shop.
So she might be really crazy this time.
And then I cleaned for like a half hour to 45 minutes, and I wrapped presents,
So she might be crazy this time. But yeah, we watched...
I'm crazy.
Well, I was crazy last time, so... We watched The Life and Times of Santa Claus. The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus.
Which I didn't know until now, because the VHS copy that I had cut the credits off, because we taped it off TV, that this was a Frank L. Baum. This is based off a Frank L. Baum novel, the guy that wrote all the Wizard of Oz novels. I kind of want to read that now.
I didn't know this at all.
Wrote him off as someone who was just really, really angry about the gold standard. Damn you!
That's
the gold standard!
I think that's an interpretation that's never been confirmed.
Damn you! The Harley Smoot tariff! Google it.
Damn you!
I had to write a paper about it in like 6th grade.
Damn you! Possibly the
Teapot Dome scandal! Google it.
Damn you! What is possibly intended by this book? We don't know for sure.
Also, someone asked, damn, Omega, how old are you if you taped these things off television in the early 80s? I did not do any of the taping. I was born in the first week of 1980. It was all my father who bought a VHS player. Actually, he was a pretty early adopter of VHS. Like, this was still back when it was competing with Beta.
So and VHS was your adopted sibling?
Yeah. Well, Joanna hadn't been born yet. So, yeah, I'm actually older than I look. Fat, filled, and wrinkles, apparently. But yeah, so what did you think? See, I saved this one for last week. Would you stop making the fish face? Who do you think you are? Like duck lips, like at the club? Like, actually, that's not even duck lips. That's like the opposite of duck lips.
This is Fossy Jaw.
That's terrible. That's horrible, and you should be ashamed. Stop doing that. Stop making fun of people who were injured horribly in industrial accidents. If you don't know what Fossy Jaw is.
Insulting, but I was doing a silly recreation of the...
They're suffering.
Of the thing.
Basically, white phosphorus settles the same way that radium did for the girls who painted the radium dials. It settles in the jaw, and it basically rots your jaw out, and it's horrific. And that's why we don't use white phosphorus. Would you stop that? We're not making fun of people who have horrible diseases. I will stop that. It's fucking Christmas. So I say
technically it's not yet.
It's gonna be when they watch it.
They're gonna watch it later on. Someone's gonna watch this after Christmas, and it won't be Christmas.
So behave yourself, because you never know when people are watching you. What if it's Easter? But yeah,
are you suggesting Elf on the Shelfism?
Ugh, I hate Elf on the Shelf. But anyway, so I saved this one for last because it's another one of the long ones, and I thought it would be the one that you liked the best. So what did you think?
It was fine. I mean, this completely threw me because I did not realize someone did like a crappy version of the Dark Crystal-esque origin story for Santa Claus. I thought the only film that did like this sort of superhero origin for Santa Claus was Santa Claus the movie with David Huddleston, who, by the way, is the definitive Santa Claus.
Well, keep in mind that this was done decades before the Dark Crystal, so that's why the stop motion is not.
Oh yeah, it's a plus it's got nowhere near the budget. It's TV. Yeah. So when I say it was a crappy version of the Dark Crystal, I'm not trying to be disparaging, although I am technically. It's because it does not have the technical expertise or the budget, but it reminded me of, especially in the creature designs, and sorry, it's just it was completely.
Win.
I'm filled with a huge amount of old-timey white person swearing. So I am
what?
I am flabbergasted. I am agog. Dag nabbit.
Were you taken aback?
Yes. No, it's just...
Fun fact, taken aback is a nautical term. That is the only actual use of the phrase. The more you know.
But, yeah, it's just... This is a confusing beast for someone who's never seen it before. It's like a weird mash of The Dark Crystal and Santa Claus the movie done in 1960s marionettes.
And with 100% no religion. Well, not 100%, like 98% no religion.
Yeah, they
Because
decided...
they call him the patron saint of children.
Yeah, that's St. Nicholas.
Well, let's summarize this for the people who haven't seen it, because apparently we've been picking some really obscure stuff that, like, even, like, Rankin Bass torrents don't contain. So, basically, the life and adventures of Santa Claus begins as the Great Ack, who is, like, this immortal woodsman spirit, calls a council of immortals because Santa Claus is about to die. He's going to die that evening, and he wants to bestow upon him immortality. And the immortals are like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, we don't do that. He's just immortal.
These guys are... Except the Great Ack is basically Gandalf with the space infinity stone on his head and huge antlers, but everyone else doesn't look human. They all look like a mixture of, like, creatures from the Dark Crystal or sort of, like she.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there's a bit of Hensonian design. I get a little teeny bit of Maurice Sendak and his illustrations.
Yeah, especially in the villainous ones. The
Aqua.
The Aguar, which is a perfect name for them because they do look like Guar if they were apes.
But yeah, so basically he said, let me tell you about this time he found a baby abandoned to the elements at the edge of the forest. And it must have been at the edge of the forest, not in the forest because there was snow. Because there's no snow in their holy forest. So he was like, oh, I don't want this thing to die. So he entrusts it to the care of Shiegra the lioness. And then he goes home and he tells, his queen and the wee nymphs about it. And this one nymph is like, what's a child? And he's like, you don't understand this, do you? Because you're immortal. It's like a wee mortal. And then they become bigger. And she's like, I want to go see it. And Nacille was her name. And so this nymph goes off and steals the baby from the lion. And the lion gets pretty pissed off. And she's like, Great Ack, I brought him into the forest. And he's like, well, Jesus, now you just violated the law. But he's like, oh, all right, you may raise the child, I guess. And Shiegra the lioness. And he has this little guy, Tingle, who's some kind of little elfy thing. He's a different race from them. Yeah. But he speaks every language. And so you see this wee boy grow up. And then...
It was really funny, whenever it was a baby, they did actually make a comment. Because, if you're leaving a baby with a lioness... you do have certain questions get raised, like, what if the lioness rolls over? What if it decides that it wants a hot dog, or something, some kind of snack? What if it smokes too much marijuana and then, it needs snacks, And then, of course...
I like how you decide that, like, this lion for some reason has a bong.
Yes, it must. But then, the next...
How could it even grip the bong with paws? No, because you have to click the lighter, and you can't click the lighter.
It's got a differently designed bong than ours.
But where's the flame coming from? Magic?
It is a magical thing.
That's true. It could have a magical bong. Never mind. Continue.
But,
in case you thought I was Pierce Driven Snow, I do not know how to light a bong. I don't know what you're talking about.
But there was one question that I'm sure we all consider, but it is raised. That the lioness is expected to suckle the baby.
Yeah.
That kid is, at least at some point off screen, a small puppet baby sucked the tits off a lion.
Yeah, but then you always see those things on YouTube where there's like, a wee kitten that like a mom dog, takes in with her puppies and like, or a cat takes in a rabbit or something like that. And I think that's cute.
I'm just thinking this is like some Rule 63 porn version of
No,
Oz.
because it's an animal, so it's not.
Oh no, it's an adult baby Rule 63 porn version of Oz.
No, it's like the myth of Romulus and Remus.
Dorothy's a baby, and she has, she's sucking on the tits of the lion.
Anyway, so one day the Great Axe like, look, I gotta teach this kid about mortals, and it ain't gonna be pretty. So he's like, all right. I'm going to take you on a journey, and after that, you're probably going to have to leave the forest. And he's like, well, all right. So he takes him around the world, and they
turn... You're a small child throwing out of the forest.
Yeah, they turn invisible, and he shows them, like, all the horrible things about mankind. Like, serfs laboring in a field for their feudal lord, and, like, a child, like, being told off. I told you it was going to make a noise. And a child being told off for, like, trying to keep a turnip for himself, and, like, you know, the lords of the manor gorging themselves, and, like, really making really, really, like, ha-ha, isn't it great that we oppress people kind of statements. And then he sees two kids training to be samurai, and it's brutal, and he sees, like, you know, homeless children in a Middle Eastern market begging, and, you know, then knights fighting each other, and war and torture and all this stuff.
And the stuff, hilariously, they had an advert break right after the bit with the serfs and then the bit with the Middle East, because both of those ones were broadly anti-capitalistic, and then, of course, commercial break. I just thought that was funny.
This year, it's the hottest toy. So basically, like, Claus is like, well, I want to go out into the world and be a good mortal. I think that mortals can be good. Jesus, I hope so. So, Shiegra the lion and Tingle the multicultural elf go with him, and he settles in this valley that's right near the forest, and it's...
He, like, builds the world's crap. It's full of snow, and he built this, like, three-walled, one-room apartment.
No, I got the idea that... Remember how they, like, he's like, let's camp here, and then the next morning there's, like, a building, and he's there, Tingle's like, look, you have guests. I think the forest, like, because they said, if you ever need upon our different races of the forest folk, just call upon us. I think they made that house for him.
See, I assumed he built the crappy little sort of thing, which, you know, would not give any shelter.
It's difficult to tell what timescale things are happening.
Yeah, sometimes
it's a little bit confusing, but
I don't know if it's editing or directing or what, but sometimes it's hard to tell what exactly is going on. But see, I assumed he was there for several days, being all like, "Oh well, I gotta live here in the snow because I'm all."
He doesn't seem to mind the cold at all.
Yeah,
maybe that's because he was raised by a.
That's because he's got his mini skirt, you know, mini skirt of
warmth.
warmth.
Mini skirt.
Yes, he does.
Oh, it's
mini skirt of warmth. He had bare legs.
Oh, okay, that he was that's a tunic.
Mini skirt of warmth.
Oh, for Christ!
And then he wakes up one morning. I assumed they noticed there was this house nearby or this church. It looked like a church.
It did look like a church.
And he then sort of just squatted in it and stole someone else's house.
Well, anyway.
That's what I assumed happened.
So he grows to, like, middle age, and he finds a little orphan outside in the snow, passed out, and he brings him in, and he's like, where are you from? And he's like, I'm from the orphanage, but I was on my way home and I got lost in the snow.
The orphan was a cannibal, and this is how, you know, it's a pre-make of Ravenous.
No, it's not. And so he was carving a little wee cat, because his mother sent him a wee kitten. And so he's like, the boy's like, what are you carving? And he's like, oh, it's going to be a little cat like that one there. And he's like, that's really cool. I wish I had a cat, but I'm an orphan. Well, he doesn't say, but I'm an orphan. He's like, well, go to sleep and maybe there'll be a surprise. So he carves the cat and he paints it up for the boy and takes the boy back to the orphanage. And all the kids go mental. They sing and sing a song. Oh my God, you have a toy. We're poor orphans and we wear burlap sackcloth. This is the best thing ever. So Claus makes toys for them and starts making toys for everyone.
Yeah, it's not even technically a toy. It's a carved lump of wood to look like a.
Yeah, but
looks
if
vaguely
you have
like a
nothing,
cat.
no, it actually looks pretty good like a cat.
It looks like the cat as represented in the thing,
Yeah.
but not like a real cat.
Well, yeah, but if you're an orphan, like living in like burlap sackcloth orphanage,
Yeah, I'm just saying it's not.
in like eternal snow valley, like that's a pretty fucking sweet toy.
No, because it's not a toy. It's a model.
Yeah, but a toy can be anything that you play with.
I give him a stick then.
Yeah, no, that's actually, honey, like you know, the primates like play with things. They make toys out of them. Anything becomes a toy in the hands of an imaginative child. I mean, like I was
if they're so imaginative, why do they need a cat?
Because they're orphans.
And here's one of the problems I have.
Orphans.
He makes a bunch of cat toys for all these children, and yet they all look exactly. He's done them all based on his real life cat, and
no,
they all
because
look the same.
they all wanted. They're like, oh, if only we had a wee cat like this. So he makes a whole bunch of wee cats, but then he starts to diversify.
He should have painted them different colors to look like different cats.
Well, then one of them has like closed eyes and a happy smile.
Yeah, there's tiny little differences, but that's only a couple of them do.
Because then that makes it individualized. Each child, they'll be like, oh well, my cat has one eye that's just closed, just like that. And it's like, well, my one has a curly tail. Like that, kids like that because each one is different and individual.
Yeah. No, what I'm suggesting is what he should have done, because Santa Claus was all like hang out with the kids, in a way that's not at all creepy. And then the kids were all like demanding him make cats for them.
No, they weren't demanding. They were like, "Oh, this is," because in the song they suggest that what if they all shared the cat that the one kid brought back, and they each had a day to play with it. And then Santa Claus is like, "But if I made one,"
someone's like, "Well, there's more than 7 orphans. That will not work."
Well, no, like, it could be on a rotating calendar. I don't know what kind of schedule the orphans had.
Lunar calendar.
But see, the thing is, and the kid was perfectly willing to share this thing with all the other, which is pretty cool.
So I'm just thinking, what the kids should have done is like, create a list of the type of, for Santa Claus, about the different colors of types of cats they want. So then they're all very different.
Anyway, so he keeps on making toys with the help of some of his magical immortal friends.
Yeah, he enslaves them.
And then, no, he doesn't. They help with their own volition. And then the bad guys enter.
Guar.
In the form of the Agua, who are like kind of orcs, but their character design looks very more Sendak, and apparently they're not immortals, but they hold reign over the valley because the immortals don't have power there, and they influence children to do bad things.
They're like the Gorgs crossed with Kiss.
That's fair to say. And so they take Santa's toys and they rough him up a bit and they disrupt everything, and Santa is like, no, I'm gonna keep trying, I will not be defeated. And finally,
they send threatening letters, through
do.
his window, and they, through his window and attached to a rock, and they don't even ask for any presents at the time. It's very rude.
And then he gets kidnapped, but he calls upon some of the Nook Forest people, and they're like, how do you know how to call us? And he's like, your boss, Peter Nook, is my friend. And they're like, fair play. And they let him out, and so the Great Act goes to bat and summons them in the Agua, and he's like, look, this guy is under my protection, piss the fuck off. And like, no! You immortals think you're hot shit, but you're nothing.
You don't have a dragon.
Yeah. They have a dragon! Like, they're like, oh, by the way, here's our dragon. And so the Great Act's like, that's it, we're going to fucking war. And Santa Claus is not allowed to participate because he's mortal. And so they fight, and basically...
The dragon gets killed by a stick.
Like, instantly, by a tree branch. And it was right as you were saying, what? Is it gonna, like, absorb all the oxygen and turn back the fire? And then it turned back the fire. And burn out the dragon.
I'm still working on my In the Forest of the Night review. This will never end. I constantly think of new things to put into it. It's probably going to be like over 40 minutes.
So...
I'm such a genius. I do 4 times when I work on that video that I do on the Genesis 7s, and I make a lot less money because it's the same amount of patronage money.
Your anger for
New
Who can never be quenched.
But there's no ad revenue because the BBC does not let me to have ad revenue on my Twatty Who's. So just so you know, audience who likes the Twatty Who's, I fucking love you.
She does stay up all night. She'll come to bed at like 5 in the morning. Like, what's happening? Like, I voiced half the thing. Like, that's grand.
Yeah.
Sleeping.
It is a labor of hatred for my love of my fans.
So basically, then Santa Claus grows quite old, like elderly, and so then.
You know who nearly played Santa Claus in Nightmare Before Christmas?
No.
Who recorded his entire part, but then was replaced at the last minute.
No, who was it?
Vincent Price.
Seriously?
He was replaced, yes.
Why?
Because
he was ill, wasn't he?
He was very old. His wife died like a week before they recorded the lines, and basically they decided, even though Tim Burton was all, and they were all like,
they still paid him, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're replaced, you still get the money. Basically, Tim Burton and the other ones involved, Henry Selick, and all decided that the voice, you could tell through his performance, he was so maudlin and stuff that they just couldn't fit, and they didn't want to put him through it again. So they gave him the money and they hired someone else.
That's sad. But Christmas. So basically, the Council of Immortals was like, well, you convinced us that he's spent his life doing all this good for children. We will grant upon him the mantle of immortality. And so Santa Claus becomes immortal. And there you go. It's the life and adventures of Santa Claus.
And then they decide Santa is because they decide he's a saint, and so these little bits from Saint Nicholas's story, like they have the stockings above the fireplace, even though they were socks in it, they were not stockings. There's a difference, and the stockings thing, the origin of that.
Well, actually, let me tell you about stockings.
Well, the stockings thing. One of the less well-known parts of the story of St. Nicholas involves prostitutes, and apparently that's the origin of the stockings thing, although that could be, I suppose, a myth.
Well, the thing is, though, it's also a matter of translation, know? Because when we say stockings in America, you think like the ones you buy in the wee egg cup, or used to buy. When I was little, you used to buy stockings or tights in like a plastic egg in the grocery. Like literally, this is how people thought this was really grand.
Kinder Surprise.
No, they were Leg brand, Legg. But then I've also heard in your stocking feet. which is supposed to mean just your thin socks. So I always took it that a stocking was a thin sock, not a thick sock. So it just could be a matter of translation.
Well, it's possible that's what it meant beforehand, but if I remember correctly, the origin
If memory serves.
Yes. I always have to say this because I don't want people to assume that these random facts I come up with are definitely 100% true. I could be wrong.
She heard it on QI one time.
No, I have a shit...
Stephen Fry said it. It must be true.
No, Stephen Fry's sometimes full of shit.
That's true.
But,
Stephen Fry's writer said it.
I have a bad memory. I just remember trivia pieces, so I don't want someone to take what I say as absolutely right. Please do some research and tell me if I'm wrong. I like to know if I'm right or wrong.
Alright. So, did it change how you felt about Christmas? Did it fill you
No.
with the Christmas... Oh, Jesus. Not even a bit?
No, it doesn't have anything but Christmas spirit. It's a little Dark Crystal-y type thing.
Well, fuck. But...
It was fun. I'd like to see a live-action sort of version of it.
Well, quite honestly,
Like
me too.
a big film version. That would
Yeah.
be pretty cool. As long as it was done competently, it wasn't done by like the guys who did the Dr. Seuss adaptations or whatever.
Yeah. We do have a wee surprise for you guys. We have a mini Let's Try on the end of this. Now, it's hot. Stop it. Are you Kermit flailing in real life? Someone gif that. Hagan flail. Do it. Okay.
I'm doing it like that because if I
'Cause
do it
Kermit's
properly, you can't really
You can't even
see.
see it. So, people, and this took me a bit to adapt to when I first moved here, people buy and eat fruitcake on purpose here. Like, it's not a joke. Like, there's like lots of fruitcake available in Tesco. And that weirds me out
Yeah.
as an American, because I always thought fruitcake was a prank.
Well, I've said it in my review several times that I don't understand America's thing about why fruitcake's a joke. Because to me, it's being, Irishy British.
Irish British.
It's
What, Governor? I'm Irishy British, so I am.
It's just another type of cake. It's like if I traveled to imagine if you traveled to like New Zealand and discovered that red velvet cake was a joke there. It's just
Slices of fruit, this frosting, that white part. You got it in Tesco.
first time I came across it, it was surreal. Now I understand that it's the case. It's just I don't understand.
Well, I'm gonna actually eat fruitcake for the first time on camera. We got this at Tesco, like the white bit frosting, like I said. I took the bit with more frosting on it. I'm kind of worried because it smells heavily like raisins, and I'm not the biggest raisin fan. I like golden raisins. I don't like brown raisins as much. So, well, you've had it before, so it's not.
Yeah, I had some last week at the at Robin's wedding.
Oh, it's true. All right, here we go.
Because you were all like, I'm gonna try it, and I was like, no, you're gonna try it on camera for the first time.
It's not bad. It's very sweet. I get the feeling that sweetness is from raisins and fruits, not sugar, but
Yeah, basically.
it's not bad. I wonder why it's such a prank in America. Like, oh, the fruitcake that I got Great Aunt Sylvia, she gifted to me, and it's been being passed down through the generations.
See, because of that, you just assume that it's terrible.
Oh, there's nuts.
When it's like it's one. I gotta say, in my list of favorite cakes, it's pretty down near the bottom for me. But I don't. It's just a type of cake.
Fair play. So we have one more left to try.
You haven't tried the icing.
I know how the frosting tastes.
Yay.
Tastes like frosting. Hey, you discussed this because it was your fault.
We're in a shop in Belfast.
Don't talk with your mouth full.
You're the one who told me to say about it.
Oh.
I didn't want them to have to sit there for like seconds. We were in a shop in Belfast called Sawyer's, and it's got import stuff and random stuff and artisanal stuff. It's basically
That's for Italian stuff too.
the sort of shop that most big cities take for granted, but Northern Ireland is still very ooh, because Northern Ireland explodes.
I can buy Pepperidge Farm goldfish crackers there, and that makes me happy.
Plus, Sawyer's, actually, their big claim to fame is, apart from being real, apparently they were really old. They're like over 100 years old, but they were the ones who provided most of the food for the Titanic. So I think out of everyone involved in the Titanic sort of debacle, they're the ones who they came out of it perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to blame the food for sinking the ship.
I got
So it's
a
like-
can of Welch's grape soda, a can of Diet A&W root beer. They carry a lot of American imports, a lot of Italian stuff, like Oh my god. If I had like a huge kitchen and an unlimited budget, I could just make you so much amazing shit with the stuff that we could buy there.
Yep.
Just saying.
They have all sorts of stuff, and it's pretty cool. Anyway, came across this.
And we had no idea what it was.
I think it's South African. Sparletta Sparberry.
No, it's
soda.
made by Coca-Cola for South Africa.
Yeah.
And here we have glasses because we're classy.
So we don't even know what flavor, what color this is going to be. I'm imagining red, probably.
Mm.
Sugar and theories. There's not even a reference about what flavor it is. It's just says Sparberry. Is Sparberry, but then there's a registered trademark besides Sparberry.
Well, here, open it up and see.
So Sparberry is not a thing.
If you know what Sparberry is, write the show. What does it smell like?
It smells like Vimto.
Let me smell it. It does smell like... No, let me smell it again. It smells like raspberry cherry bonkers, which were a chewy candy from the 80s. That's exactly what it smells like. The red berry bonkers. If you know what bonkers are, write the show. You're probably old like me. It looks red. I don't want a whole lot because
It's a little bit like Tizer, too.
I feel like it might have sugar in it.
Looks like Tizer, smells like Vimto. So if you're British, you know what those are like.
Oh my god, this tastes like cheap candy. This tastes like the kind of cheap candy that would be at the bottom of your Halloween basket that you would finally get to. Cheap American candy from the 80s, that's what this tastes like.
It doesn't taste like Tizer or Vimto.
Do you like it? You can drink mine later. I'm not enthused. Blech.
It doesn't have a very distinctive
I'm getting
taste.
like childhood flashbacks.
It doesn't have a distinctive, like, you know, this is something is ... flavor. It's like
Maybe a Sparberry is like something in Africa.
maybe
Well, it's Christmassy now.
well, it is red.
Aye. Well, give me that. So that...
You stole my Sparberry.
You can drink it afterwards. Life exists after the vlog ends.
You know where you get Sparberries?
Sawyer's?
No, they grow them in Spar.
You're always Spar. Yeah, I love Spar. It's a great job. But
That's where you get Tim Hortons over in Ireland.
We'll talk about that another time. But so... I love you, life. But anyway, that has been the Christmasing. It has been a journey. You haven't had quite the narrative arc that I hoped. But that's okay. You know why? There's always next year. Next year we might do movies. Stop trying to get away. So that's it from us. Merry Christmas, you guys. I hope that you have a great holiday. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you have a great time anyway. You know why? Because the day after Christmas, everything goes on fucking sale. And I expect you, all of you, regardless of religion, to go out and buy and consume sweets and food. It's like your job now.
And God bless us, everyone.
Said the atheist.
Said the atheist who apparently is also God in a certain fictional universe.
Yeah, well, who isn't though?